OpenAI released new Chat GPT feature, function calling. What this basically means is that you can send a function to Chat GPT API and get structured JSON response that you can use in your app. You could do something similar with just prompting the API, but that was error prone and not very reliable. With function calling, you can still get some hallucinations from the system, but at least those are going to be structured hallucinations. Using function calling, we will build an app called Movie Nerd. You just enter the name of the movie and the API will return release date of the movie, actors, director, summary of the movie, most memorable lines from the movie, and to add a bit of weirdness to the whole process, we will ask ChatGPT to generate description of the movie poster that we will send to DALL-E to generate an image of the poster, which almost always gives a weird and kind of a creepy result. So let's get started. For this demo, I'm using Next.js 13 with Tailwind installed for a bit of styling. You will also need OpenAI API key if you want to follow along with this tutorial. That key needs to be saved to the .env file at the root of your Next.js app. We are going to be using OpenAI npm package to talk to ChatGPT and DALL-E. Just be sure to use at least version 3.3.0 of the module, since that is the one that supports function calling. If you're having troubles with OpenAI setup, you can check out this video for more information about this setup. And of course, everything we do here will be available on GitHub. The link is in the description below. Only noteworthy thing is index.js in pages folder that is currently just displaying an input box and a button. The code for this file looks like this. We have our form, our loading state, and handle submit function that is going to trigger get movie data endpoint and send it the name of the movie. Of course, if you try clicking the get me the movie data button right now, you will get a 404 error because that route still doesn't exist. So let's fix that. In the pages API folder, create a file called getmoviedata.js. Next, initialize OpenAI API like this. Now we are going to export default handler function that receives request and a response. In the handler function, we are going to make our request to the OpenAI API like this. Let's go through this code for a second. We are using create chat completion function to talk to ChatGPT. This is the function that supports function calls. Next, we are defining a model. For this to work, you need to use either GPT 3.5 Turbo 0613 or GPT-4 0613, but since I don't have access to GPT-4, I will use 3.5. In the previous AI video on this channel, we were sending a prompt to the ChatGPT. We are not going to do that today. Instead, we are going to send messages array. The first one primes ChatGPT to be our movie database assistant. And the next one is our prompt. So we say, give me information about movie called, and then we send in the movie name from the request object. Next, we are defining functions, meaning you can send more than one function to the API, but for this use case, one function is enough. We are giving it a name, get movie data, and then sending in parameters. The parameter in this case is going to be a schema that we are going to build out during this video. After that, we just do a function call and call our get movie data function. This is all the code we need to talk to OpenAI and to get our data. The only thing we need to worry about now is defining our schema to get a structured response from OpenAI. And to send that data to our frontend, we just need to add this one-liner. And this should send the response from OpenAI to our app so we can display it. Now we need to define a schema. This is the most important part, but luckily it's very easy to do. Our schema is going to be a type of object and is going to have some properties. First property we are going to add is release date. It is going to be of type string. We can also provide a description so that ChatGPT has context of what we want to get. we can just write something like release date of the movie in day.month.year format. You can think of it like a mini Chat GPT prompt. There is one more thing that we need to do to get a response, and that is to define required fields, like this. We just add a required array to the end of the schema and fill it with fields that we want to get from the API. Okay, so now let's see if this works. Go to a browser and enter a name of the movie in the input field. For example, Inception. Click Get Me the Movie Data button. Since we didn't set up any data displays on our page, we will check our console to see what we are getting from the API. And after a few seconds, we get back an object with the release date property and the movie release date. Nice. So now let's get the actors for the movie. We follow the same steps as for release date, but this time our property type is going to be an array, so we have to set it up a bit differently. Since this is an array, we also need to define how the objects in that array will look. For that, we use items property and in it define that our item is going to be an object that is going to consist of two fields, first name and last name. Both of those fields are going to be strings. And that's it. Now just add actors to the required array and we can test this out. Enter Inception again and let's see what we get from the API. We are getting an array of first 5 actors from the movie. Great. Now I will add a few more fields to our schema so that now it looks like this. I added the director, summary of the movie, quotes array that is going to provide us with 3 most memorable lines from the movie, character in the movie saying the line and the actor playing it. And lastly, we defined poster description field that is going to ask ChatGPT to provide the description of the movie poster in 7 sentences so that we can send that to DALL-E later on. Also note that I instructed ChatGPT to avoid double quotes for the movie summary because that could screw up our response. Let's test this out with the movie Big Lebowski, since this will get us some nice quotes. We are probably going to have to wait a bit longer for this response since we are requesting much more data than before. Okay, it works. This code really ties the app together. Before we implement those creepy poster images for the movie, let's display the data on our page. I'm just going to add this code below loading indicator. Here we are just checking if we are getting something from the API, and if we do, we are displaying data inside of an ordered list. Since actors and quotes are arrays, we are mapping through them, nothing complicated. Let's test this out with the movie Goodfellas. Nice, we are getting the data on the page. Now let's implement those creepy images. Create getMovieImage.js inside the API folder, initialize OpenAI API, and define handler function just like we did for getMovieData.js. In the handler function, we are going to call createImage function from OpenAI module. We need to define prompt for this API, which is going to be poster description that we got from ChatGPT. Number of images, in our case 1, and the size, I'm going to use 512 by 512. And lastly, we are just returning response from the API to our frontend. And that is it for the API. We just need to implement image creation on our page. In index.js, add 2 states for image loading and image URL. After that, we will define getImage function that will get the image and set it to the image URL state. Now we will use useEffect that is going to have a data dependency, so when the data changes, aka we get the movie data response, we will trigger getImage function and send it poster description. Below movie data, I will add another loader for image URL. And below that, we display our image if we get anything from the DALL-E API. And that should be it. Save it and let's test it in the browser. Write Top Gun in the input box, for example. This response is going to take a bit longer since first we are contacting ChatGPT to get movie data, and after that we will contact DALL-E API to get the image. That image is weird, but at least we are getting something, so that is nice. It would probably be better to send the description to Midjourney API. I'm sure that would get much better results, but for the sake of brevity and simplicity, we are using OpenAI APIs all the way in this demo. Note that if you don't send anything to the API or send movie name that doesn't exist, it will make stuff up for you. So you can use this as an imaginary movie generator or something like that. Just one note before I conclude this video. It's good to wrap your requests to the API in a try-catch block so that you get some useful info if something breaks. Like this. While doing the prep for this video, I would sometimes get the message from the API that the description for the poster is using unsafe words, and then it wouldn't generate the image. I wouldn't know what the problem was if I didn't wrap it in a try-catch block, so keep that in mind. As you can see, using AI to be your backend of sorts can be very powerful, and this is just scratching the surface. You can do much more complicated things with this approach, but that's a topic for another video. So anyway, this has been it for this video. Everything we did here will be available for you on GitHub. The link will be in the description below. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next one.